think the Florida rental market is dying, and today we're going to discuss exactly why. Just a little backstory. My fiance and I moved to North Carolina about 9 months ago, and we moved for multiple different reasons, but one of them was because we didn't feel comfortable with the Florida real estate market back then. I feel like we have seen decline in the real estate market on personal basis over the past year and a half, but we were somewhat optimistic until certain things started happening. But before we get into the personal anecdote of things, let's just talk about the 3 things that are happening in the rental real estate market in Florida. But a little disclosure, but what I want to say, real estate market, it's super local, right? What I'm discussing is the Tampa Bay market. It does affect certain other parts of Florida as well. However, there are certain parts of Florida that are growing. It's not the entire state, but there are trends throughout the state for sure. The issue number 1 that everyone is dealing with right now is rising property taxes. Property taxes are always rising. The government wants their money. Uncle Sam never gonna stop asking for money. But to give you a couple of examples, normally you expect certain increase in property taxes, but year over year we've seen $2,000 to $3,000 increase on our taxes for a property that was like $6,000, and let's say it's now $8,000. So that is about 20 to 30% increase. Let's say your increase is smaller. There's one thing that Florida cannot figure out how to do properly, and not only Florida, there's some other states that deal with this as well, like Texas and California, and that is this hated word by a lot of people. It's called insurance. Just to give an example, one insurance from one of my properties went up from $3,300 last year for the whole year to $6,600. That is the double amount, like 100% increase in your insurance cost. And the problem with Florida, okay, you can say, screw this insurance company, go find another one. Well, good luck, because you can't. The problem is that when you have a home that's like 1960s or older, any other insurance company that is technically still works in Florida is going to charge you even double that amount. So you're like, well, I'm going to go with the cheapest one. The problem is that when you go with the cheapest one, they do drop you. And what I mean by this is that they're so picky about everything that needs to be right with your property that they can come to you at any moment and say, hey, we don't like your roof. Go ahead and replace it. We're going to drop you. Not like other states, not like 30 years roof, every 15 years or so. So now you're stuck replacing the roof, or you want to find a different insurance company that's going to charge you double. Or let's say what happens is that if this company, Citizens, finds a company that will only give you 20% increase instead of that 50% or more, then they will just drop you and automatically move you to this new insurance company. So you may just be like living your life and you just got 20% increase on the insurance. But I don't want to make this whole video about insurance. I can talk about that a lot. All of this would be fine and okay and understandable if the third thing was not happening at the same time. And the third thing is the rent decreasing. And this is what I want to concentrate most of this video about, because we cannot control taxes. Taxes always go up throughout the entire country. Insurance always goes up throughout the entire country, just not maybe as drastically as Florida. But the rental market is so weird. Like, I think a lot of people are not talking about it enough, but as having 20 rental units in the Tampa Bay area, I feel I see the most changes right away. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I would post a rental. I haven't been able to increase the price, but at least I can post it for the same price as it did before, and I really wouldn't struggle to rent it. However, what's happening is that, I'll give you an example right now. We had a rental that would rent for $1,800 in St. Petersburg, Florida, like 5 minutes from downtown, right? And Florida, if you know Tampa Bay, you know that's a great market. A lot of people want to live in St. Petersburg, Florida. Now we are struggling to rent it for $17,000. Just had to drop the price to $1,650, and we're gonna see if we're gonna be able to rent it for $1,650. We might have to drop it even cheaper. And you might say, well, that's just one example. The problem, this example is across every single property that we own. We had to come up with creative ways to get these tenants in these properties. Sometimes we had to give them half off of first month, or had to give some kind of other incentives in order to get them in. I saw this happening about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when I first started thinking about moving to another state. My goal to move to another state wasn't because I hated Florida. I mean, the hot is a little annoying, but overall, the quality of life was not too bad. My biggest problem is that I do not see Florida market, especially the Tampa Bay area, growing to the potential that people think it has. Because real estate, a lot of times, is kind of like a speculative play. You're like buying a property, hoping for appreciation because you think that this area is going to keep growing. You believe in the area. But I think that when it comes to like job growth and certain other aspects, it hasn't been able to keep up. For example, this Redfin report that I have in my hand that was released on April 16th, 2025. So what makes the rents go lower, right? So I think there's a couple of things. And one of them, it's kind of more speculative than proven because it's very hard to find data on this. But most of the things I've seen and hear, there are just not enough high-paying jobs in the Tampa Bay market comparing to what the price of the houses and the rents are. Yes, there is a decent, okay job growth in the Tampa Bay market, but is it high-paying jobs? Are these big companies that are invested in the Tampa Bay market? I don't know. I haven't seen many. There are a couple here and there, but is it substantial? I'm not really sure. Another big thing is the population growth. According to this Redfin article, in 2023, net domestic migration, which is 2023 was already slower than 2021, 2022, because that was the COVID times. It was crazy. 34,000 people moved to Tampa, Florida. What happened in 2024, and that's not even 2025. I believe when they come up with the last years, it's going to be even lower. Net domestic migration was 10,544. So the change is that the 24,000 people less moved to the Tampa area. If you look at this article, there's just Florida, Texas, and Georgia. That's the only 3 states in this. And there's a reason for that. All those states grew so much during COVID that when people moved there, I believe that they were like, hey, I don't know if I really want to live here. It's too hot. The job is not that great. The taxes are high. The insurance is high. Why would I even live here? So I believe a lot of people that would have not originally moved to Florida ended up moving to Florida because they thought it was the best time ever. But then they were like, I don't know if I want to live here. According to Redfin, what they think is that the rising cost of living, natural disasters, which I totally agree, which goes hand in hand with high insurance costs and all that stuff. In office work, a lot of jobs that people were able to afford, those houses in Florida, were remote jobs. A lot of people are required to go back to office. And where are those jobs? They are in New York, they are in California, they are in Seattle, whatever. They're in big cities. And just in general, high cost of moving, I think that's always makes perfect sense. Just people moving less in general. And here we can actually see the states that have improved net migration. Obviously, it's still negative, right? So you have to keep that in mind. So these states had a lot of people moving out of there, and now it's less. So more people are moving in or less people are moving out. And those states are in the Northeast. A lot of them, Massachusetts, New York, PA, DC, all of that. There's some Chicago, and there's also Seattle, Washington. If you look at these, they are big cities. Most of them are big cities. And the biggest thing about these areas, they have jobs. And that's why I think originally when we moved to this area of North Carolina, and the biggest part of the research was which part of the country has a very steady job market, an increasing job market. And North Carolina has that. There are certain parts of North Carolina that is a different job market. For example, Raleigh is more like IT job market. Charlotte is like bank jobs and things like that. And Greensboro area is different. It's kind of like an underdog. People don't look at it. They're kind of like, Greensboro, whatever. But the thing about Greensboro, the job market growth that is here is blue collar jobs. Blue collar jobs are a lot harder to replace with AI and other technologies. So these jobs are here to stay. And also the prices. I mean, we bought our first property when we moved here. We bought for $195,000. We bought a 5-unit property. The cheapest property we ever bought in Florida, it was a duplex. That was a pretty small duplex, and it was $250,000. So just look at that comparison, right? Then we went on and buying this home that I'm filming in right now, that we're actually turning the downstairs first floor unit into an Airbnb. This home we bought was over 2,000 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms. It ended up being $350,000 for a fully remodeled home. If you did the same thing in St. Petersburg or Tampa, you're probably not paying less than $550,000, $500,000 or more, obviously depending on the area. And I'll tell you this house even appraised for a little more than $350,000. So all of these factors and all of the statistics that you can read online yourself, there are certain articles that the Tampa Bay area wrote themselves. Obviously, the Tampa is not going to want to talk about it. Of course, if you're in the area or if you're a business, why would you say that you're not progressing well? So I think Tampa or St. Petersburg is such a great market if you're a renter right now, because you can go there and you can get the best price and the living is good there. I mean, yes, cost of living is somewhat expensive, but for renters, not as much, because the biggest pain point is the property taxes and property insurance. If you're a renter, you don't really care about that stuff. Food is okay priced, you know what I mean? The Insurance is expensive for cars, I guess, but comparing to like North Carolina has freaking property tax for cars, which sucks. But, you know, I guess depends what part of your life you're in. If you're a landlord, I would steer away, especially from the Tampa Bay and some other parts of Florida. But if you are a renter, I think it's not a bad market to be in. It's a good lifestyle and you might enjoy it. The biggest takeaway I want to say is that whatever decision you make, if you start investing in a certain area or not, make sure it's an informed decision and don't let people tell you that you're making the right or the wrong decision. Do the research yourself. There were so many people that were looking at me weird when I was moving here. And now I'm looking at the rents down there and I'm like, well, it's very different here. The property that I bought 9 months ago, I was going to rent for $950 for a 2-bedroom. Now I'm already can rent it out for $1150. I don't think it's a realistic increase. I think might have something happened in the area. Like I said, there was some jobs that started, but you're looking at $200 difference. Let's say even if it was $1,000 or $1,050 instead of $950, that's still really good for a rental increase. You want certain kind of rental increase a year. I don't expect every year to be a rental increase, but I don't expect multiple years to be a decrease as well. So I hope you guys like this video. Please leave a comment if you have any questions about this, any of our rentals or the market and the things that I'm seeing. Check out some other videos on the channel. I talk a lot about real estate and other stuff, and AI automation has kind of been my biggest friend recently. So check out these videos on the side if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.